Good morning, it's Devorah. It's InStory Live. It is Tuesday, August 20th, and guess what? It is my 30th wedding anniversary. I just finished having a delicious breakfast with my husband, and we were kind of thinking about how thankful we are for our lives, okay, for the lives we have lived. And it's not like, you know, the 30 years has been just this sweet, easy flow. You know, my husband, and I'll probably publish this somewhere. Hi, Eugenia. He wrote a beautiful story after our wedding, and just recently updated it. And we were talking this morning about how do you measure your happiness, you know, or your value or your joy or the worthiness of your life. Like, against what measure do you hold yourself? So I've been thinking about that. You know, do I hold myself against somebody who has possessions that I don't have, so therefore I measure myself as less? Against what measure do you hold yourself? And part of that actually means, what do you value? And so it's really clear for us that our values put spirituality first. And, you know, he reviewed how we lived through the Gulf War in Israel and through a few earthquakes in a few places. And our story of the adoption of our children after 10 years of infertility is quite miraculous. And my husband has survived 3 pretty serious illnesses with medical intervention that all worked. So, you know, it reminds you, I think, especially in this stage, we're both in our 60s, and like it's a different measure of what brings joy and happiness and value. And you know, and we sat and he said, you know, I love our life. And there have been times when that hasn't been the feeling that we had. And so against what measure do you hold yourself? And first say, what do you value most? Because sometimes what I find is we measure ourselves against something, and if you really think about it, what you're measuring yourself against is not the thing you value most. So we have a very small house, and sometimes I measure myself as lacking because other people have bigger houses, and I thought, yeah, but physical things are not my priority. Spiritual things are my priority. Imagination, experience, love, connection, creativity, joy, those are my priorities. And so having a small house is okay, right? Like, what if it's okay what you have? What if it's okay the way you are? You know, one of my lines is, I'm whole and complete. What if you're whole and complete? It doesn't mean you can't grow. We're starting to have a vision of moving back to Israel. We lived there for a few years right at the beginning of our marriage, and you know, now we're at a different stage, and like, well, that would be a spiritually elevated goal. And so it's wonderful to take a moment and notice against what do you judge yourself. And if you can shift your perspective, it suddenly looks very different. I know my husband was talking about, you know, how we both have, he was thinking about his mother and his father and what they weathered, you know, surviving the Holocaust, escaping Poland, through Russia. They're amazing stories. And just feeling the pride of, you know, our culture, our heritage, our community, who we are, what we've been through. So I want to send you inspiration to feel proud of who you are, the journey of which you have taken so far, so that you can settle down into a joy of the moment, and from there you can vision a new thing. Like, that's the other possibility. As I look at our age group, I've been talking about this, that we're kind of, I think we're just too ornery to do what we're told anymore. And it's kind of our turn to be our authentic selves finally, and do what we love most with all our hearts. And that honestly is what I'm all about. I believe we have something to say. I believe as women, in what I like to call our third act, like as in over 50, that we have something particularly unique. In fact, Kay, who's watching, was saying to me the other day, because we potentially have more time, sometimes we have more financial resources, but often what we have that's significantly different is the way we can choose to use our time. And what a gift. You know, I have time when I'm all by myself quite a bit, and I just cherish that. And yet sometimes I'm like, whoa, because I remember raising young children, working in a school, teaching at night, and I was never alone, hardly ever alone. My children would say, Mom, go for your walk. And I would come back a happier mommy. So make sure that you notice from what perspective are you measuring yourself. And perhaps it's worth a slight shift in perspective to see the wondrousness of your being. Just saying. So on this day we are celebrating, and our 17-year-old daughter is making us an anniversary party. She said, Mom, you guys should have a party. I'm going to organize it. So sending you all love and blessings. Remember to celebrate yourselves, to notice how wondrous you are, and to look up. And just did a video on leap and feel that you can fly, and that you can fly free. So sending you all love, blessings, inspiration. Remember always to go out in the world, share your story, live your purpose, and be a blessing. Bye, folks.